got a special one today, man. I feel like this is a super interesting one. Looking at how, if you contrast how the WNBA has been propelled, it's very similar to the arc of the way Magic Johnson and Larry Bird did it. Similar to the way Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are doing it right now. If you look at it, right, um, Larry Bird. There's a slight difference, but if you look at it, Larry Bird's a country kid. He's white. You know, he played at Indiana State. Um, then you had, and they were kind of rivals in college. Then you had Magic Johnson, who played at Michigan State, more of a city kid, black dude. You know, different kind of personality. Larry Bird was a little more serious. Magic Johnson was jovial. He was smiling. You know, he was more of a playmaker. Bird was more, but Bird was a heck of a playmaker. But I feel like most people look at him as more of a shooter. But honestly, I think he's the second best passer at the small forward position after LeBron James. Heck of a playmaker, right? And think back to when the NBA started in 1948, first season of the NBA. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird came in. It was 1979 was the national championship game, 1980 season, right? So it's about 30 plus years, about 32 years, or give or take, between their the start of the NBA and where they took it. If I'm wrong on that math, somebody tell me in chat or somebody put in the comment section. My fault if I'm wrong. But then you look at Caitlin Clark. I believe the WNBA started in 1996 off of the Olympics. If I'm wrong on that, somebody put that in the chat too, or somebody let me know. But if you look at that, it's 2024, so it's a little less than 30 years, but about 30 years difference if you see it. And then you look at it, Angel Reese from Baltimore, city person, you know, city girl, black, and then um, you have Caitlin Clark, who's from Iowa, right? More of a smaller state. You know what I mean? The only difference between Magic and her, the Magic Johnson situation and Bird, and this situation is that if you look at it, Bird played for Indiana State, which was a smaller school. So it was kind of like that little engine that could that came in and played against Michigan State, bigger school, more of a powerhouse school, right? But other than that, the storyline is pretty much the exact same. About 30 years later, there's two stars contrasting, right? Angel Reese is a big post player. Caitlin Clark is a Caitlin Clark is a guard. You know, she's dynamic. You know, a lot of people liken her to that Stephen Curry, you know, long range. Steph Curry kind of changed the game and he made it exciting. He brought other element to the game. So Caitlin Clark kind of added that on the women's side. And we could probably do this in another way as well, but I just wanted to make sure it's out there so people could kind of see how interesting this is. 30 years later, there was a difference between what was done in the NBA and the WNBA. And a lot of people were looking like, well, how do you really get the W? What's up, Infinity? What's going on? I appreciate you liking it, Infinity. Are you subscribed? Are you subscribed to the channel or where you from? Yeah, Infinity just jumped on. I appreciate you, Infinity. Um, oh, cool, 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 cool. Where you from? Yeah, so it's interesting that you see how 30 years later both of the leagues. Maine, okay, shout out to Maine. You happy to see your boy Cooper Flag making some moves, representing Maine? Yeah. Um, Definitely think it's a. I appreciate you for subscribing and for liking it as well. Infinity, that's love. I appreciate you. Yeah. So they both leagues kind of needed that kind of storyline, and if you look in a lot of throughout history, just in general, it's often there's like rivals, right? Muhammad Ali had Joe Frazier, Martin Luther King had Malcolm X, W.E.B. Du Bois had George Washington Carver, right? A lot of times contrasting styles, opinions, views make for it makes for a storyline where people can really pick a side. Like picking a side is often a way where you can propel something. Michael Jordan's situation was a little bit different. Like he really didn't have that particular rival in his time, but Angel Reese and kind of Caitlin Clark kind of coming together was huge. Um, a little background. I had to see where Caitlin Clark was ranked coming out of high school. I know she was highly ranked. I remember when she was uh, coming to Iowa freshman year, there was a lot of hype. I imagine she was the number two player in the nation, but I'll have to go back and check where she was ranked on Rivals and everything like that. But yeah, it was her and Paige Beckers, and Paige Beckers was like number one, went to UConn, which was a little more typical, right? Like top players who go to UConn, they go to South Carolina now, they went to Tennessee in the past, right? And then Angel Reese, if a lot of people don't know, like Maryland is a powerhouse. They won a national championship under Brenda Freeze, right? And Angel Reese and a few other players, they transferred out of Maryland, and then they decided to make this and they came together and made this kind of dynasty at LSU. So Angel Morrow, Flajay Johnson, Tia, um, Haley Van Lith even joined last year. So it's yeah, so it made for an interesting contrast. So a lot of people look at Caitlin Clark, and I wouldn't say she's kind of like a victim. I would say I do disagree with the way the WNBA is handling it a little bit. Like I feel like you got to protect her because she's bringing a lot of opportunities for the league. She's bringing a lot of eyeballs. She's bringing a lot of attention. When you have a player that's revolutionizing the game in real time, you got to make sure she's protected. You got to make sure she's not getting hurt. Just make sure she's not getting hit. Um, I think the WNBA has to make sure to do a really job doing that. Um, yeah, and if you look at it, it's gonna get even crazier. Going back to the story arc of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. If you look at it, they got in '79. Magic comes in first year in the league, wins a title with Kareem. You could go look back. He had the historic game, like 40 points, double figure rebounds, bunch of assists, 17 assists or so. Right, started at center. He played like almost every position because at 6'9", the versatility was there, right? And it'll be interesting to see if Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese could do that in the WNBA, right? They both made the All Star team rookie year. Let's see if they could follow it up with some titles because Magic won the title first year, right? He ended up winning, I say, three MVPs in the decade, and then Bird won three MVPs in a row in the decade. And I believe we can go back and verify, but the Boston Celtics titles and the Lakers won five titles. titles that weren't Boston or Lakers were 83 with Philadelphia 76ers when Moses Malone came to join Dr. J in Philadelphia with the 444. You can go look that up, any young kids, that 444 year. I mean, if you've never seen Moses Malone to me is a top 35 at least all time player, multi time MVP, multi time scoring champ, right? And the other team that won in the 80s was the Detroit Pistons with the Bad Boys, right? So if Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark could do that, win a few titles, or create that kind of dynamic where both teams are going back and forth winning titles, the WNBA is going to skyrocket. It's going to skyrocket because that's exactly what happened in the NBA. You followed those players from high school to the NBA, and you saw what from college to the NBA, and you saw what happened, right? Final four with Final Four with Angel Reese and LSU and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Right, they played 2 years ago. There was a little bit of back and forth and things like that. And I feel like a lot of people try to make it seem like they don't like each other. I don't necessarily think that's true. Like we play in more of a AAU, like everybody's played against each other growing up type of style. So a lot of people are a lot more friendly than they were back then. Like even Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, they weren't really friendly until they did the Converse commercial. I'm sure they had that Converse commercial online. You could probably check it out. But until that point, college and in the league in the NBA, nah, they were going at it. They were going at it. They were both trying to win titles. And that was the era where if you grew up in the 80s, I'm a late 80s. I was 89, so I was at the tail end. I'm more of a 90s kid. But yeah, if you watch 80s basketball, even 90s basketball, it was a lot more physical, right? It was a lot more physical. 90s was like low scoring and physical. 80s you still score, but yeah, it was a lot more physical. Like you had players on teams that would just come in and be like guys that we'll call them enforcers, right? Kurt Rambis was one for the Lakers. You know, if you ever look back at those old clips with the glasses, anybody who's from that era will know. Yeah, just made like this is something to watch. So let's keep an eye on it. God willing, they both stay healthy. It's 2024. Let's watch for the next few years. See if one of them could get some titles. Um, See if Chicago could piece together a team that can do it. Let's see if the Indiana Fever could piece together a team that can do it. Chicago won it a few years ago with Candace Parker coming back. Candace Parker from Naperville. Um, she came back and they won a title. And then, yeah, let's see if Indiana could do it. I mean, my thought for the WNBA was always that they should do what the NBA did and it was made like a regional draft. So whatever it's tougher to make parity that way. But you know, wherever, like let's say you're from Massachusetts or something, or let's say they played at UConn, then you draft players to the Connecticut Sun, right? So you bring that base with you, the followers, the people who are supporting you earlier will support you again. So I think that's something to follow. I would like to do another video on this in a different kind of format, different kind of setting, but keep this in the Rolodex. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Liken them to Magic and Bird, you know, very, very contrast styles, contrast personalities, but both fierce competitors. So let's see how this works out. If anybody has any opinions, drop it in the comment section. Drop it in the uh, yeah. Let me know on the live. I'm about to jump off really quickly. God bless in Jesus' name, amen. Definitely watch out for this rivalry.